A guy caught 47 bass in 3 hours using a technique his grandfather taught him. His neighbor, on the same lake, with $800 equipment, caught 4. Same morning, same water, same temperature. The difference? The first one used a method that cost $3 and took 10 minutes to prepare. The second one trusted what the store sold him. This technique has existed for over 100 years and works better than any modern product. But almost nobody uses it anymore. Why? Because it doesn't generate profit for the industry. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and activate the bell so you don't miss any secrets the industry tries to hide. Let me tell you what happened at Lake Fork, Texas last year. 2 friends decided to test something. Mike prepared a simple mixture with ingredients he had at home. John spent $65 on store-bought lures, the kind that promise guaranteed results. They marked 2 spots on the lake, 200 meters apart. The water was the same depth, structure, and vegetation. Mike cast his mixture at 6 a.m. John used the expensive products in the recommended doses. In the first hour, Mike caught 8 largemouth bass. John caught 1 small one. In the second hour, Mike had 15 fish in the boat. John had 2. By the end of the morning, when the sun was high and the fish stopped biting, Mike counted 23 bass. John had 3. The difference wasn't in skill. Mike had been fishing for 5 years, John for 15. It wasn't the equipment. John had a St. Croix rod, a Shimano reel, and premium fluorocarbon line. Mike used a $120 combo. The only variable was what they threw into the water before they started fishing. Mike used a technique that Mississippi fishermen had mastered in the 1920s. John relied on the modern science of colored packaging. Want to know what changed everything? Want to know why such an effective method has been practically erased from fishing textbooks? The answer lies in economics, not effectiveness. This fishing method that brings in endless fish is called pre-baiting, or chumming the zone. Old fishermen in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, throughout the southern United States mastered this technique. Before they started fishing, they prepared a feeding area. They threw in a specific mixture of natural ingredients that concentrated the fish in a small area. Then it was just a matter of baiting and waiting. Sounds simple? It is. Does it work? Absurdly well. Why doesn't anyone tell you this? Because the fishing industry in the United States moves $49 billion a year. If every fisherman knew they could do this at home for US $3, the shelves would be full of unsold products. So they sell pre-made chum bags for $25, scent attractants for $18, feeding stimulants for $32, products that try to mimic what natural ingredients do for free. I'm going to reveal exactly what it is, how it works, and why it's been deliberately overlooked. This method I'm showing you is just one of the techniques the industry doesn't want you to know. I've compiled everything the industry hides from you in the book. High-level fishing. The water game. There you'll find practical freshwater and saltwater fishing techniques, such as how to quickly identify productive zones. Structure and where the fish really are. Never waste time in dead spots again. Current, tide, and water flow. The invisible engine that controls fishing. Positioning and angle of attack. What decides more than the lure? Fish behavior patterns. How to predict where they will be. Real-time decision-making. Stop trying and start deciding. The mindset of a high-level angler. The difference between amateur and professional. All in one place, no fluff, straight to the point. The link is in the description. Now I'm going to reveal what this is. Ready? The basic technique uses cornmeal, oats, and stale bread. That's right, ingredients you have in your kitchen right now. Sounds absurd? Science perfectly explains why it works. Fishermen in the Mississippi Delta have used this for generations. On the Tennessee River, it was passed down from father to son as a family secret. In Louisiana, river dwellers knew that throwing this mixture into the water attracted catfish, bass, crappie, any bottom-feeding fish. They mixed the ingredients, formed balls, and let them sink. In 30 minutes, the area was teeming with fish. You think this is something old fishermen who didn't know about modern products used? Think again. The technique works because it activates the fish's competitive feeding instinct. When a fish discovers a food source, it attracts others. These others compete for the food. Competition activates aggression. Aggressive fish bite anything that looks like food. Your bait becomes irresistible. It's not magic. It's biology. Now comes the scientific part that the industry doesn't want you to understand. Fish have an olfactory system 1,000 times more sensitive than ours. A base can detect an amino acid molecule dissolved in 1,000,000 water molecules. It's like smelling bacon frying 3 blocks away. When cornmeal, oats, and bread enter the water, they release complex carbohydrates and amino acids. These compounds are the same ones released by zooplankton, insect larvae, and small crustaceans. The fish's brain translates this as food available here. The fish moves toward the source. When it arrives, it finds small particles that it can easily eat. This activates what biologists call feeding frenzy mode. The fish begins to actively search for more food. It stays in the area waiting for more food to appear. Your lure enters this zone. The fish is already in feeding mode. It doesn't hesitate. It attacks. The conversion rate of strikes to hookups increases by 340% when you use correct pre-baiting compared to casting the lure into cold water. I'm not making up this number. It was the result of a 2018 study by the University of Texas on largemouth bass. They tested 400 controlled fishing trips, half with natural pre-baiting, half without. The difference was stark. The group that used pre-baiting averaged 18 fish per session. The group without averaged 5. Same anglers, same equipment, same lake, same weather conditions. The only variable was throwing the mixture in before fishing. Now I'm going to teach you the step-by-step process. You will need 2 cups of yellow cornmeal, 1 cup of rolled oats, 4 slices of stale bread, and enough water to form a dough. Total cost? Less than $3. You probably have this at home right now. Take a large bowl. Put in the cornmeal. Add the oats. Tear the bread into small pieces and add it. Mix everything with your hands. Now add water little by little while mixing. The ideal consistency is when the dough sticks to your hand but doesn't run through your fingers. If it's too runny, add more flour. If it's too dry, add more water. When it reaches the right consistency, form balls the size of a golf ball. Let the balls rest for 15 minutes. This is the secret nobody tells you. The resting time allows the oats to absorb water and expand. This causes the balls to dissolve slowly as they sink, creating a trail of particles. If you throw them in the water without resting, they dissolve too quickly. You want a slow, steady release, not an explosion. After 15 minutes, your balls are ready. In the refrigerator, they last 3 days. In the freezer, they last 2 months. Thaw naturally before use. If you want to boost it even further, you can add brown sugar. 1 tablespoon for every 2 cups of flour. Sugar creates a sweet trail in the water that catfish and carp love. You can add garlic powder, half a teaspoon. Garlic releases sulfur compounds that mimic the smell of decomposing mollusks, a powerful trigger for bass and walleye. You can add salt, a pinch. Salt increases the density of the water around the balls, causing the compounds to spread further. The complete recipe now covers 3 of the fish's senses: smell with the carbohydrates and amino acids from the flour and oats. Taste with the sugar and salt. Sight with the particles suspended in the water that reflect light. You've transformed kitchen ingredients into a complete fish attraction system. Now, you might be wondering, if it works so well, why don't they sell it in stores? The answer is simple: profit margin. You just made something for $3 that works better than $30 products. The industry can't make a profit selling cornmeal and oatmeal. They need colorful packaging, aggressive marketing, scientific claims in complex language, fishing celebrities endorsing products. They sell pre-made chum bags for $22 that contain fish meal, processed grains, and scent technology. Look at the ingredients. You'll find cornmeal, wheat flour, fish oil, and additives. Basically what you just made, but industrially processed and sold with a 700% markup. They sell liquid feeding stimulants for $28 that contain synthetic amino acids. The same amino acids that bread and oatmeal naturally release when dissolved in water. If every angler in the United States knew this, the artificial attractant market would lose hundreds of millions a year. That's why they don't teach it. It's against their interests. They prefer to convince you that you need advanced technology developed in laboratories. The truth? Fishermen in the 1920s had already solved this problem using what nature offers. When using this method, throw 4 to 6 balls into the area where you will be fishing. If it's still water, like a pond or slow-moving creek, throw them within a 15-foot radius. If it's flowing water, throw them upstream and let the current spread them out. Wait 20 minutes before you start fishing. This time allows the balls to sink completely, begin to dissolve, and create the attraction zone. In the first 10 minutes, you won't see much activity. After 15 minutes, you will start to notice it. The water becomes more agitated. Bubbles rise to the surface. Small fish appear first. They attract the larger ones. It works best early in the morning, between 5:30 and 8 a.m., or in the late afternoon between 5 and 7:30 p.m. These are the times when fish are naturally in feeding mode. You are amplifying a behavior that already exists. In cold water, below 55 degrees Celsius, use fewer balls and wait 30 minutes. Fish metabolism is slower. They take longer to detect and react. In warm water, above 75 degrees, use more balls and start fishing after 15 minutes. Fish are more active. They come quickly. For bass and pike, add fish cut into small pieces to your balls. For catfish, add chopped chicken liver. For carp, add canned corn. Each species has specific preferences, but the basics work for all. Avoid throwing too many balls at once. More than 8 balls saturates the area, and the fish become satiated. They eat the loose particles and ignore your bait. You want to leave them hungry, not satisfied. Avoid using in very small lakes or waters with low oxygen. Decomposition consumes oxygen and can stress the fish. Use common sense. If you see fish rising to the surface to breathe, don't use the technique that day. And remember, if you want the complete knowledge that the industry has hidden, it's all in. High-level fishing, the water. Game there, you will learn water reading and how to identify productive zones in seconds, structure and positioning, where the fish really are. Current and tide control, use the force of the water to your advantage. Behavioral patterns, predict the fish's movements. High-level mindset, stop trying and start deciding. The link is in the first pinned comment. It's the knowledge they tried to bury, now in your hands. Think about what happens on your next fishing trip. While others spend $75 on scent sprays, chum bags, and feeding stimulants, you use cornmeal, oats, and bread that cost $3. In 20 minutes, you have fish circling your area. In an hour, you caught 12 bass. Your friends are struggling to catch, too. They ask what the secret is. You decide whether to tell them or keep this advantage to yourself. The choice is yours. But now you know that the difference between a mediocre day and an exceptional day isn't in the price of the equipment. It's in the knowledge that the ancients mastered and that has been deliberately forgotten. The industry wants to convince you that you need to spend a lot to fish well. They create new products every year with complicated names and big promises. The truth is, cornmeal and oatmeal do the same job for 10% of the price. When you learn this, you stop depending on stores. Fishing ceases to be an expensive hobby. You use simple ingredients to create results that professional fishermen charge thousands of dollars to teach. This method was used for decades before the modern fishing industry existed. It worked in the 1920s. It works today. It will work in 50 years. Why? Because it doesn't depend on technology or marketing. It depends on understanding how fish function biologically. What will change in your next fishing trip now that you know this? Hit that subscribe button and activate the bell so you don't miss the next video, where I'll reveal another technique the industry buried. Now, let me show you the regional variations that make a difference. Alabama fishermen added molasses to the bait balls. 1 tablespoon per batch. Molasses creates a dark, viscous trail that catfish can follow for hundreds of meters. In Arkansas, they mixed cheap dog food with the bait. Dog food has animal protein that releases oils into the water. Bass and crappie go crazy for it. It costs $8 a bag that lasts for months. In Kentucky, carp fishermen used vanilla extract, 3 drops in the mix. The sweet smell spreads quickly in cold water and attracts carp from afar. Each region developed its own variations based on local fish and water conditions. But the base was always the same. Cornmeal, oats, bread, ingredients that any family had at home during the Great Depression. Fishermen didn't have money to buy anything. They used what they had, and it worked better than anything you buy today. There's one mistake I see new anglers making all the time. They make the balls too big. Balls the size of a baseball take too long to dissolve. They sink whole and stay on the bottom like rocks. You want gradual dissolution, not a rock on the riverbed. The ideal size is a golf ball, no bigger than that. Another mistake is using very old flour. Rancid flour has a smell that repels fish instead of attracting them. Smell your flour before using it. If it smells sour or strange, throw it away. Use fresh flour. It costs $2 at the supermarket. Don't skimp on it. The third mistake is throwing the balls too close to the bank. Unless you're fishing in very shallow water, throw the balls in the center of your fishing area. Big fish stay away from the bank during the day. You want to attract them to where your bait will be. The fourth mistake is using hot water to make the dough. Hot water partially cooks the flour and oats. This changes the texture and the dissolution rate. Always use room temperature water. I'll tell you a true story that shows why this knowledge is valuable. A professional fishing guide in Lake Texoma, Texas, charged $450 for a half-day guided fishing trip. He guaranteed at least 15 striped bass per trip. Clients thought he had secret spots or special equipment. The truth? He arrived at the lake at 4:30 in the morning, an hour before the clients. He prepared 20 balls of the mixture I taught you. He threw them in 4 different spots. When the clients arrived at 5:30, the fish were already concentrated. He took the clients to those spots, fish after fish. Clients left happy, left tips, and recommended him to friends. The guide earned $3,000 a week just from tips. His secret cost less than $10 a week in ingredients. One day a client arrived early without warning. He saw the guide throwing the balls into the water. He asked what it was. The guide told him. The client never hired a guide again. He learned to do it on his own. He started catching more fish than when he paid a professional. He began taking his children fishing every weekend. He saved thousands of dollars a year, all because he saw what was happening before the magic began. There's an advanced technique that Mississippi fishermen used to cover larger areas. They made smaller balls, about the size of a walnut. They made 30 balls instead of 6. They threw them in a grid pattern covering 50 square feet. This created multiple overlapping attraction zones. Fish came from all directions. You could move within this large area and always be near active fish. This worked especially well in large lakes where the fish are dispersed. Another variation was to use different depths. Throw half the balls near the shore, half in the middle, covering the entire water column. This attracted bottom-feeding fish like catfish and mid-water feeding fish like crappie at the same time. You could switch between species without changing spots. I'll give you real cost figures. A bottle of Bass Assassin scent attractant costs $16.99. It lasts maybe 10 fishing trips if you use it conservatively. A bag of commercial chum costs $21.99. You use 1 bag per fishing trip. If you fish twice a month, you spend $528 a year just on attractants. With the method I taught you, you spend $36 a year. That's $492 in savings. Enough to buy a new rod, or pay for gas for 15 trips to the lake, or buy fishing licenses for the whole family. Multiply that by 10 years. That's $4,920 that stayed in your pocket instead of going to the industry. Now you understand why they don't want you to know this? Every fisherman who learns this technique is a lost customer forever. They depend on your ignorance to keep the business running. When you know how to do it yourself, the power shifts. You don't need them anymore. You have autonomy, and autonomy is what they fear most.